I speak in favor of my city becoming a sanctuary city for people like me. I speak as someone who is always misgendered, like all the time. People refer to me as sir when I prefer to be referred to as ma'am.
I want you to know that I do not want to be here. I don't want to spend an hour applying glitter on my face so that you will hear and see me.
You better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
Can you look at me and tell me how many of my friends need to die before you do anything?
Please wrap up.
Look at me!
Okay, we're all done here.
Fucking pathetic!
No, we're all done. Come on.
Kids over 13 have the complete right to make their own decisions about their mental health care. Parents don't have a right to have notice. They don't have a right to have consent about that. If they're old enough to get pregnant, they're old enough to make their own decisions about what happens with their bodies, okay? And parents do not have the right to change that or make a different decision or be notified in advance.
So as you guys can see, things are getting really crazy in the world we live in. But what we really want to touch on today is the fact that a lot of parents' rights are actually getting diminished in the wake of some of these crazy things that we're seeing. And I know a lot of you guys got kids, so I think that this is a really important topic for discussion and just for general awareness. Now, what we're seeing across the US is a trend where a lot of lawmakers are actually trying to diminish parents' rights and keep parents out of the lives of their children, especially when it comes to things that happen in schools. I'm talking violent incidents, alleged instances of sexual misconduct against that child, or even things like gender transitioning. Now, personally, I think that this is a pretty crazy situation, especially since we've seen a lot of instances where lawmakers say that they're trying to protect the children from the herb, but on the flip side, they're saying that children at the age of 13 are able to make lifelong, life-changing decisions for themselves. So to me, it seems like a little bit of a double standard, and today we're going to show you guys just how serious that double standard really is. Now let's have a look at where Democrat Washington State Senator Jamie Peterson actually speaks about this very issue.
Kids over 13 have the complete right to make their own decisions about their mental health care. Parents don't have a right to have notice. They don't have a right to have consent about that. Young women have, if they're old enough to get pregnant, they're old enough to make their own decisions about what happens with their bodies, okay? And parents do not have the right to change that or make a different decision or be notified in advance.
So what I find pretty crazy about that is that at such a young age, you definitely don't have the experience that a lot of older people have. In fact, your front lobe is not even finished developing, so your brain is not fully developed yet. And also, at such a young age, you're really impressionable. You're impressionable by music videos, you're impressionable by parents, friends, teachers, all these things. And in a society where a lot of teachers are turning into activists in the classroom, you really need to wonder what is happening. Especially when you send your kids to school and they come back and you're like, well, what happened in school today? And they just don't tell you anything.
Democrat lawmakers in Washington state are once again acting like they're the enemies of parental rights. Now, this time they're trying to keep parents in the dark about critical information affecting their children in school. The state Senate passing a bill that would stop schools from having to tell parents immediately if their child is the victim of a crime by another student or even a teacher. And what about if your son or daughter is telling school counselors that they're confused about their gender or asking about abortion? Well, the same deal. Democrat lawmakers think parents do not have a right to be immediately told. Everyone okay with this? This sound good? Over 13, then your frontal lobe isn't even fully formed? Joining me now, Jason Rantz, Seattle radio host who's been tracking all this. Jason, what is the reaction that you're finding among parents to this news that there can be a 48-hour period of time in which they're basically just kept in the dark about their own child?
They're outraged, as exactly every single person watching would be if they were in a situation where, God forbid, their kid was put in harm's way, was the victim of some sort of crime. They would want to know immediately. You're calling 911 and then you're calling the parent immediately. But under this law, if it moves forward, 48 hours, which gets to the question, why do they want to wait 48 hours. Now, the Democrats are saying that they're doing this because they don't want to get in the way of the investigation, which is a complete and utter contrived point. They're just making this up. There's not a cop out there who says, excuse me, you can't talk to the parent of the minor child who might have been sexually assaulted for 48 hours. It could hurt our investigation. That's generally not how it goes. And so I imagine a lot of this has to do with putting together like a PR campaign so that they don't get too much criticism after something like this were to happen. But what's especially problematic for the parents out there, last year there was a voter-led initiative to create this Bill of Rights for parents. And the Democrats had the choice. They could either pass the bill and let it become law, or they could put it to a vote. They wanted to avoid the vote because they thought it was going to hurt them down ballot. So they just passed it, only to now completely gut it and then make it so that you can't put this up for a referendum. They're changing the laws completely, and they're lying about it.
So they're trying their hardest to keep you out of anything that happens. We're talking any type of violence against your child, sexual misconduct. That is absolutely crazy to me. And they mentioned that they don't want to disrupt the investigation for the first 48 hours. Have you guys never seen the show, The First 48 Hours? The first 48 hours is the most critical to the investigation. The parents can have a lot of pertinent information to the case, and they should definitely be in the loop. Now, you heard him right there mention the Bill of Rights, and this is actually a point that a lot of people who are opposing parental rights are actually using in their favor. They're saying that parental rights are not on the Bill of Rights, so it should not be recognized at all. Now, hear what some of these people have to say about this particular point.
But what's even more frightening and truly sad about all of this is that there are those on the far left that have absolutely no idea what it means to be a parent, spouting off about how parental rights are not real, and about how their woke political agendas supersede our parental rights.
Recently, we're seeing in the political sphere a lot of people in the Republican Party and a lot of people in the right wing are using the term parents' rights to mean something very specific. So they're using this like very particular meaning when they're discussing it. So they're not using it in a general sense. They're using parents' rights to refer to a parent's right to know about their child's gender and sexuality, a parent's right to make decisions about their child's gender and sexuality, and a parent's right to reject or not support their student's gender and sexuality. And that is the part that I have an issue with. As I said before, I see my role as an educator as collaborating with kids, families, and their caregivers, and their other teachers, and their administrators and counselors, and their community as a whole, to support them in the best ways possible and in the ways that they need. And I do stand by my statement that parents who reject their children's gender identities and their children's sexual orientations are not taking care of their children.
So as you guys can see, some of the educators that they have in classrooms are not just educators, they're actually activists that are pushing their personal beliefs onto your kids. Now, I remember back when I went to school, everything was normal, and as a kid, I was just concerned with having fun, playing in the playground. And also, I do remember that if I got into a fight or a little tussle, my parents were immediately called, and I was getting in trouble. But according to some of these people, they think that parental rights do not matter, and parents have no right to be notified of any of these things.
I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. Parental rights. When queer kids' lives are at stake, parental rights.
No such thing as parental rights. It's not recognized in law, it's not in the charter, it doesn't exist. Children's rights, however, are recognized and have been for a very long time. Parents have responsibility, which is recognized in the law, but no rights.
So how would you feel as a parent hearing someone say that you have no rights whatsoever over your own child? You have no say in what they learn in school, you have no say in what happens in school, you have no right to hear if they were violated or if they were a victim of sexual misconduct or abuse. You have no rights at all. I want to find out what you guys think about that. Drop it in the comments down below because I'm really interested to find out where you guys lie on that particular issue. And if you guys are getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, shop the merch store and cop some merch. or join the ICANN VIP Bean Club. Now, on the flip side, there are instances where lawmakers are trying to increase, solidify, and strengthen parental rights when it comes to their children. And this is something we're seeing happen in a lot of states, including Chicago, where recently a parental rights bill was passed. But of course, Democratic leaders oppose this bill.
Bill could get it done.
It's called the Parents' Bill of Rights. Chad Pergram breaks down the legislation from Capitol Hill.
The bill is passed.
House Republicans passed legislation Friday dubbed the Parents' Bill of Rights. It requires schools publicize curriculum. That includes providing parents with a list of student reading materials. Schools must offer parents 2 meetings with teachers each year.
It's just another check off on all what we said we would do.
The goal is for parents to have more insight into learning and guard against what Republicans call woke education. Every Democrat voted against the bill.
The extreme MAGA Republicans want to jam their right-wing ideology down the throats of students, teachers, and parents throughout America.
Just to interrupt really quickly, but on the flip side, it could be argued that some of the far left advocates are actually trying to stuff the woke ideologies down the kids' minds and down the kids' throats. Personally, I've seen instances of certain books that I don't think my parents would have been happy with me reading growing up. Now, before anyone gets crazy, I have no problems with anyone's sexual preference or any of that stuff. But what I do have a problem with is when the kids get involved and at a really young age, they're really impressionable and they make lifelong, life-changing decisions that cannot be reversed. In certain situations, it literally seems like a form of grooming where certain activist teachers, parents, and that type of stuff are actually grooming their children. I've literally heard people say, I have a 7-year-old that's currently going through transitional surgery to transition from a boy to a girl.
My name is Ella, and I'm 7 years old, and I'm transgender. I realized that I was a girl when I was 4.
She would say, you know, I think I was supposed to be a girl in your tummy.
Whenever you changed your name to Ella, do you feel pretty much happy most of the time?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
I really like the name Ella. I didn't really like the name Easton.
What did you not like about the name Easton?
Like, it's a boy name.
When Ella was 2, she started showing signs of gender nonconforming. Around 4, when she was able to verbalize more, she would say, you know, I think I was supposed to be a girl in your tummy. Why did I come out this way? One day she, in the bathroom, threw down her fist and said, make me a girl, Mom, I want to be a girl. And so that was the night that I really knew.
Before we let her transition, I think we spent more time worrying about what everyone else would think than what was actually best for her.
And in those situations, it's pretty clear to see that the parents themselves are a big influence on the children.
Across the country, we're seeing a rise in policies aimed at keeping parents in the dark. The latest and most noteworthy example of this is California's AB 1955, which prohibits schools from having policies that require parental notification about their child's behavior while in school. More than 1,000 school districts across our country have enacted policies that withhold information from parents about their own children. Over 20,000 schools have these policies, impacting roughly 12 million children. This is simply unacceptable. Teachers at Eau Claire Area School District were told during a professional development session, and I quote, remember, parents are not entitled to know their kids' identities. That knowledge must be earned. For heaven's sake, don't birth pains and stretch marks and paying school taxes earn that right? What about housing, clothing, feeding, loving? Aren't those things enough as well?
So clearly, there are a lot of differing views on this topic, but some of those points that Mr. Wahlberg raises are completely valid. The parents are the reason that the children are brought into this world. Who is a third party to say that they have no rights? Now, what I found is that some of these people advocating for parental rights to be taken away from parents, they themselves don't seem like they were ever even a parent. And some of these folks are actually calling for transgender sanctuary cities. And that's exactly what's happening over in Massachusetts at this city council meeting.
I speak in favor of my city becoming a sanctuary city for people like me. I speak as both the B and the T in the LGBT. I speak as someone who is always misgendered, like all the time. People refer to me as sir when I prefer to be referred to as ma'am.
Right now in our country, Trump is threatening the trans and gender diverse community. He is using policy to take away protections. He is making it hard for trans people to renew passports, to get the care they need. He is trying to erase us.
I want you to know that I do not want to be here. It's my day off. I do not want to be in your DMs. I do not want to be in your email inboxes. I do not want my creativity writing diss tracks like Kendrick. I don't want to spend an hour applying glitter on my face so that you will hear and see me.
To those claiming that making Worcester a sanctuary city could risk federal funding, that's fear-mongering.
If you think you're afraid of Trump, you should see how afraid of Trump I am.
Can you wrap up, please?
Yes, I can. If you say that you're afraid of Trump and that's why you don't want the city to be a safe space for trans people, you better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
Yeah. Can you look at me and tell me how many of my friends need to die before you do anything?
Please wrap up.
Look at me!
Okay, we're all done here.
Fucking pathetic!
No, we're all done. Come on.
I ask you all, family, may we pick up our bricks? Because we will not go down without every silent cis straight person waking up and seeing the blood on their hands.
I use the pronoun she and her, and I am disabled cisgender lesbian. The Jesus that I know would be right here in this gallery, lined up to speak during this public comment, standing in solidarity with the brave people here. The Jesus I know would be dressed in full drag and serving face, or wrapped in the garb of a non-binary person who knows one gender is way too small to capture their gloriousness.
I cannot overstate that the United States is rapidly sliding into fascism, and conceding because we are scared of the repercussions validates and allows fascism to continue.
How many lives have to be lost before you consider fighting back against fascism and corruption?
You have the opportunity to stand up to violence and fascism that is spreading all over our country like wildfire.
I am agender, and I use they, them pronouns.
They, them as a singular pronoun has been in use since the 14th century. No one in this room is as old as the 14th century, so I'm going to ask for some adaptation. I invite every member, through the chair, of City Council to come to my queer studies classroom at Worcester State University. You are all welcome every time, but be aware that you are a guest in my house when you come. And when you come, know that there are strong queer and trans people in my classroom who will collect you with the quickness if you speak out of turn.
The reason that Worcester needs to be a safe space for trans people is because I can't go home where I can't work, I don't qualify for disability, I can't drive because I'm narcoleptic, and my family doesn't support me because I'm trans, and then come to a city council that won't listen to my voice. I need the city to protect me because no one else will.
How much for one trans life? How many dollars does it take to put them on the chopping block? I want a precise number. I want a dollar amount. And who next? Who's the next protected group to be tied to the railroad tracks, and will you fold for them? Now is the time to stand up for tyranny.
You can make all the rules and whatever you want, but you cannot change nature.
Yeah, go ahead and finish. Go ahead. Okay.
No. That's all. Thank you.
So as you guys can see, some of these people are really extreme in their thinking and have no problem imposing their will and their thoughts and their beliefs onto others. Now, I thought we were living in a society where everyone's beliefs, they can live with them, but they don't have to impose them on everyone else. Someone does not have to believe what you think. And after this council meeting, the city did vote to become a transgender sanctuary city. And again, just to make it very clear, I have no problem with other people and their sexual preferences or what they like to do in their private lives, but when the ideologies become so extreme that they're being imparted on the children, I do think that that becomes a problem. So let me know what you guys think about all that. Would you guys feel comfortable or not losing your parental rights? If you are a parent, would you want to be informed as to what's going on in your child's school, or would you want to be kept completely in the dark? Drop it in the comments down below and let me know what you guys think about that. Now, when it comes to the kids, they're always lawmakers trying to restrict something, or just use the kids as an excuse for why they're trying to push through a lot of oppressive laws. And that's exactly what happened in this situation, so check that video out because it's coming up right now.